I would like to welcome everyone to the People's House. It is such an honor to be with all of you today. My name is Sandra Aguilera, Policy Director for the Department of General Services. And this is my second year getting to serve as the MC for this event. Today we gather to celebrate this year's Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. As a first-generation Mexican-American immigrant with deep rural roots in Adams County, I stand here today with immense pride and shared heritage for all of our contributions. Buenos días, mi gente. Qué honor estar aquí con todos ustedes. Estamos hoy celebrando el mes de la herencia hispana. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. As we gather today, we want to follow the theme, which is celebrating and honoring pioneers of change, shaping the future. This theme resonates deeply with me and with so many of us. Today, we're going to be honoring some trailblazers that have paved the way for future generations. Today, we recognize our collective resilience and dedication to enacting change in all of our communities. Now, I invite you all to please rise as we honor our country with the national anthem performed by Ibelis Rodriguez, a sixth grade student from Holy Guardian Angels Regional School in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets had glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Whoa, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. So right now?
No, I'll call you after.
Okay.
Thank you, Ibelis, for that beautiful performance. Please be seated. At this time, I'm honored to introduce Luis Campos, co-chair of the Governor's Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs, who will read the Governor's Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation.
Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is an opportunity to celebrate the rich cultural traditions and honor the significant contributions and achievements of our Hispanic and American Latino communities in medicine, law, business, technology, civil engagement, government, and culture. And whereas American Latinos are the largest ethnic minority group in the country, counting 65 million, and the fastest growing minority community in the Commonwealth, counting 1.1 million. And whereas American Latinos have served with distinction in military conflicts since the Revolutionary War and continue to defend our country today as members of the armed forces. These brave men and women bring us honor, and we are grateful for their service and sacrifice. And whereas Hispanics and American Latinos' dedication to community is an integral part of Pennsylvania, they have made tremendous contributions to our diverse society by sharing their culture and talents. And whereas no matter what you look like, where you come from, who you love, or who you pray to, you have a place in Pennsylvania, and the Commonwealth is proud to honor the history and contributions of Hispanics and American Latinos in our state and throughout the nation. Therefore, I, Josh Shapiro, Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, do hereby proclaim September 15th to October 15th, 2024 to be Hispanic Heritage Month.
Thank you, Co-Chair Campos. Now it is my honor to please join me in welcoming Olga Negron, Executive Director of the Governor's Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs.
Gracias. Thank you. Buenos días. Good morning. This is a big celebration from Pennsylvania. In moments like this, that I get to be surrounded by members of my Latinx community, my heart feels bigger with pride. In the last year and a half, I got to feel this same feeling as I visited counties across the Commonwealth. You know why? I'm gonna tell you why. I would like to share you a few facts about Pennsylvania Latino population that will help us celebrate this significant moment. Latinos represented 50% of the population growth in the last 2 decades, growing to a historic 1.1 million Pennsylvania residents of Latino descent. That's right. If the trends continue, Latinos will not only remain the nation's largest minority group, but it will also become the largest minority group in Pennsylvania by 2030. The most common Hispanic origin groups in Pennsylvania are Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Dominicans, Cubans, and Colombians. These 5 groups account for about 74% of the Hispanic population in the state. The counties with the highest percentage of Hispanics are Philadelphia, Monroe, Berks, Lucerne, and Lehigh County, which has the largest percentage of Latino residents. The Hispanic community has a large economic footprint. The community's spending power grew to $1.9 trillion in 2020, an increase of 87% from 2010. To make our state competitive recipient of that buying power, we must continue to celebrate sustainable diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda. Latino consumers spend money where we feel welcome. That's why it's imperative that we continue to include Latinos in our agendas to continue attracting the best and the brightest talent to consider our Commonwealth. The executive order signed last year the governor signed last year that requires state agency to award more government contracts to minority-owned business. It's a great example of way to do this and shows commitment by the governor to increase economic power within the Latino community. And it's having real results. In just 1 year, Pennsylvania increased the number of state contracts going to small, diverse, and veteran-owned business by 35%. During the last year, I've been working with my commissioners on issues affecting the Latino community, and our priorities are language access, affordable childcare, and affordable housing. I share our priorities with Governor Shapiro, and as you remember, he included our priorities on our last budget this year. Last year, Shapiro administration announced a Spanish language version of the Department of State voter information website is now available. This website is where Spanish-speaking Pennsylvanians that want to learn about anything related to voting and election can now do so. Also last year, Shapiro signed into law a historic expansion to the PTRR program, making a good commitment he made in Pennsylvania seniors and people with disabilities during his campaign and his first budget address to ease the burden of rising costs. Thanks to this expansion, nearly 175,000 Pennsylvania are newly eligible for the program, and the vast majority who qualify in previous years will see their rebates increase, and more than half of those newly eligible Pennsylvanians have already applied. This information is just share amazing news that alone made me very happy. But Governor Shapiro didn't stop there. And that's why I know he's listening to us. Because now the tax rent rebate is available in Spanish, making it easier for thousands of Pennsylvania Spanish speakers to apply. And just last week, Shapiro signed another executive order directing DCEDC to create Pennsylvania's first ever housing action plan. That's another example how Governor Shapiro administration is working for Latinos. I am honored to serve as the Executive Director of the Governor Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs, and I'm looking forward to continue the work with my diverse commission alongside Latino residents across the Commonwealth, making sure this administration is connected with the 1.1 million Latinos in our Commonwealth, and making sure those residents know the work this administration is doing for them. That is why you continue to hear us say, no matter what you look like, where you come from, who you love, or who you pray to, you have a place in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to say that in Spanish for those of you that didn't get it the first time. No importa cómo te ves, de dónde vienes, a quién ames o a quién le ores, tú tienes un lugar en Pennsylvania. Gracias.
Thank you, Olga. Next, I'd like to introduce Neil Weaver, Secretary of the Governor's Office of Administration, to share his remarks. Secretary.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my honor to represent the Governor's Office of Administration at this year's celebration. I am proud to be part of it. This is actually the fourth time I have celebrated this with all of you. I would like to thank the Commonwealth's Chief Diversity Officer, Norman Bristol Colon, for working hard to pull this event together. And thank you to the Governor's Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs and the Interagency Planning Committee for all of their hard work. As I mentioned, I lead the Governor's Office of Administration. And for those of you that don't know what that is, we are responsible for the human resources, equal employment opportunity, and diversity, equity, belonging, and inclusion for nearly 80,000 state employees under the governor's jurisdiction. We also do information technology, a number of different things, but today I want to focus on the human resources, equal employment opportunity, and the diversity of our mission. As the governor said, and you've heard it now twice, and it bears repeating, No matter what you look like, where you come from, who you love, or who you pray to, you have a place here in Pennsylvania. He wants every Pennsylvanian to have the freedom to chart their own course and have a real opportunity to succeed. Throughout our history, the Commonwealth has welcomed people from other places who seek freedom and opportunity. Today, the people who call Pennsylvania home are more diverse, and Latinos are a driving force behind this change. Today, we are celebrating your rich contributions to the nation and to the Commonwealth. Under Governor Shapiro's leadership, we are working to build a workforce in state government that reflects the diversity and experiences of all Pennsylvanians. It is important to have people of different races, genders, and abilities in state government. They bring different perspectives that can help to create better solutions for everyone. Since day one, we have been working to create that opportunity for all Pennsylvanians to create a new pathways to public service. On his first day in office, I was fortunate to join the governor, sign an executive order bringing skills-based hiring to state government. It's a simple idea. If you're qualified for a job, you should get the job, even if you don't have a 4-year college degree. This means people can qualify with experience gained through apprenticeship, vocational school, military service, and on-the-job training. It was a powerful decision that has opened the doors to people of all backgrounds and experiences. Diversity, equity, belonging, and inclusion is another way the governor wants to create opportunity. And it's a major priority of me as the secretary. Last May, we brought Norman on to lead our diversity, equity, belonging, and inclusion initiatives across the Commonwealth. And this past May, I joined the governor again to sign another executive order to ensure our state government workforce is strong and reflects the diverse backgrounds and beliefs of Pennsylvania residents. Events like this are a reminder of the diversity of our cultures and experiences that make our Commonwealth such a special place. I am proud to stand with you and celebrate today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we will hear from Deputy Secretary Delgado from the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
Good morning, everyone. I'll try to speak a little loud since I know it's a little noisy behind us. But thank you for being here today to celebrate this great month and acknowledge the importance of our Hispanic culture and our heritage. If there's one thing you know about Hispanic people, we can be loud, but our culture is rich. It's filled with love, hugs, passion, and respect. We embrace all and welcome everyone to our table. Our culture is filled with good music, dance, great food, and speaking Spanish really fast. See, these are all key elements to a great culture, a culture that can be seen across the country and seen across the Commonwealth here in Pennsylvania. I'm Puerto Rican, and I stand here today in the rotunda at the Capitol. I know my parents are proud, my grandparents are proud, my ancestors are proud, my children are proud, and my family is proud that I can stand here and say, I am part of the leadership team at the Department of Education, and I'm also Puerto Rican. My mother and father were both born in Puerto Rico. They married in Philadelphia in their teenage years, and they bought their first house for $1, from a government program in the city. And my parents made the conscious effort to provide us with a quality education. And I was given the opportunity to go to college and to get the opportunity for advancement. I graduated from Temple, and when I graduated from Temple, I went right back to Philly and worked in Kensington. If any of you know Philly, you know Kensington. It's a Latino community, but a Latino community in trauma, and a Latino community that is struggling. But I spent 18 years educating kids in Philadelphia. I worked with the School District of Philadelphia and a company called One Bright Ray to start accelerated high schools for dropouts. Students who fell through the crack, lost in the system, but wanted to come back. And I can proudly say that there are more than 2,000 former high school dropouts now working in the state of Pennsylvania and now contributing to our economy. I've been here at the state for about a year and a half, and one of the things that I was tasked to do was to sit on the Basic Education Funding Commission, the BEFC. And that was a 9-month journey where we traveled the state of Pennsylvania, listening to educators, listening to parents, listening to community leaders about their needs and what they need to make education great in their city. And I could tell you one thing that I heard from all parents, all community members, everyone that we spoke to. They all want a chance for their children to succeed. And that's our job here. Our job here at the Department of Education, and everyone in that side of the house and that side of the house, is to have quality, educated teachers, have access to meals, have access to safe schools, and have access to an opportunity for our children to lead us into the future. So as I close, I want to say this. I encourage everyone to take a little bit of Hispanic culture with them. Be supportive to each other, listen to each other, love each other, and whatever you choose to do in life, be great at it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to move into the part of our agenda where we get to hear from Latino leaders. We have quite a few elected officials here, which is really important to have. It takes all of us collectively to support each other and encourage each other. So we heard quite a few folks from the administration, including myself, and a lot of us are firsts. And we wouldn't be able to be up here without the support and encouragement from all of you. And so it's such an honor, it's such important work to be able to hear from elected officials and other Latino leaders. So next up, we're gonna hear from Representative Cepeda Freites. If you could please come on up.
Muy buenos días. Buenos días. Que se sienta ese calor latinoamericano, ese calor y ese cariño de todos hispanos, porque ¿qué estamos celebrando? El mes de la hispanidad, de nuestra herencia, de nuestros logros, nuestros triunfos, ¿verdad que sí? So, my name is Johanny Cepeda Freites. I am state representative representing the 129th Legislative District. And that is located in Berks County, predominantly the areas of Reading and beyond. Before I get started, as I think about the theme as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, and the theme is Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together. So I wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for the pioneers of change that paved the way for me as a Latina woman to be standing here as state representative. So I'd like to recognize and acknowledge, and I'd like to ask my colleagues to join me. We have Chairman Danilo Burgos, the first Dominican to serve in the State House of Representatives, and the chairman of our Pennsylvania Latino Legislative Caucus. I also have my colleague, Dominican Puerto Rican Manny Guzman, who was the first Latino of Berks County to make it here. That's right. And thanks to these gentlemen, I'm the first Dominicana from Berks County to be here. I also want to recognize my colleagues who are here with us, supporting, embracing, celebrating, and working diligently, right, for the sake of all of our communities. I'd like to bring up Representative Mary Isaacson, Representative Justin Fleming. And also you will hear from shortly, from more pioneers of change in our community, because you're gonna hear from our first Latino mayor Latinos mayors ever here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So it truly is an honor to stand here before you and Again, I have to give homage to my parents because I am the proud daughter of Dominican parents, of immigrants who came into this country in pursuit of the American dream. And the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania afforded them that reality. And they came in here and instilled in me. My mom always said, education is the key to success. Thank you, Mom. Knowledge is power. ¿Verdad que sí? Porque así es que tomamos decisiones para mejorar no tanto nuestras familias, pero nuestro medio ambiente y nuestros vecindarios. Y mi papá, que en paz descanse, mi papá me enseñó, querer es poder. My dad instilled in me, when there's a will, there's a way. And he furthered his message that sticks with me each day as I carry out my duties as a state representative. He said, todo en la vida se hace con amor o mejor no se hace. Everything we do in life, we do with love or we don't do it at all. So again, familia, vecinos, compañeros, hermanos y hermanas, estamos aquí celebrando nuestra herencia y juntos podemos abarcar más, juntos podemos lograr más, porque ya es tiempo, ¿verdad? We've earned respect, dignity. We've contributed so much to this Commonwealth and this country. So I stand here with you, and we're going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep building our future as a collective. Thank you so much, y pa'lante siempre. Gracias. Gracias. ¿Tú quieres decir algo?
Muy buena tarde, ¿cómo se sienten? Good afternoon, I am State Representative Danilo Burgos of the 197th Legislative District and also Chairman of the Pennsylvania Legislative Latino Caucus. And I would like to take a moment of personal privilege y darle la gracia a nuestro amigo Norman Bristol Colon that before it was, fun fact, before it was a thing to be Latino in the state of Pennsylvania, Norman Bristol was always making sure that Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, Guatemalan, whoever of Latino descent was being recognized, was being honored here. And for me, it gives me great pleasure as an elected official to see all these state officials, all these state servants that are here before me that make sure that not just Latinos are represented, but that all communities across Pennsylvania are recognized. And with your service, we're able to provide quality service to Pennsylvanians across Pennsylvania. However, the Latino community contributes way more than what it takes from the state of Pennsylvania. Contributes way more in entrepreneurship and economic contributions all across the industries, whether it's in the medical field, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in teaching in the educational field. But we do not receive enough. We're 1 million out of 13 plus million Pennsylvanians. However, the investments in our communities are far from representing the numbers that we have. So we must do better across the board in order to make sure that Latinos are included in the state of Pennsylvania. The Latino Caucus is fighting for driver's licenses for all. It's fighting to remove the requirement that you have to be a United States citizen to be a teacher. Fighting to remove arcane laws that are obstacles to grow Pennsylvania, and particularly for Latinos. So muchísimas gracias, Norman, for bringing us all together, and let's continue to serve our great Commonwealth.
Thank you so much. Up next, we will hear from Mayor Eddie Moran of the City of Reading. Please welcome him.
Wow, let me take this minute. Let me take a minute, just take this in, you know. Who would have thought this born Puerto Rican, humbling individual who came to the United States when he was 13 without a word of English. Actually, I lie. I knew how to say cocina, chicken, gallina, hen. Pero besides that, who would have ever thought that I'll be here with such pride representing a city in the rotunda of the state capitol building? Wow, let me just take that in. Really. You know, to be here and celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month alongside so many distinguished leaders is truly an honor. This year's theme, Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together, truly speaks to the spirit and strength of the Latino community. Today, we honored the Borinqueneers, whose bravery and dedication remind us of the vital role Latinos play in our nation's history. As a Puerto Rican myself, it is especially meaningful to recognize these heroes. There's no other word to address them, but heroes. As Colonel Aníbal Segarra, the first Puerto Rican officer to command the Borinqueneers, said, and I quote, "We were determined to prove our worth and fight for our country with honor." I'm going to repeat that. We were determined to prove our worth and fight for our country with honor. How ironically that almost 80 years later, we're still trying to prove our worth. But guess what? Look around. Look at all these Latino leaders. The secret is out. We're no longer accepting it. We're gonna ask for our piece of our table. We're gonna ask for our share in our table, of that table. We're gonna ask to continue to represent and govern ourselves, to represent our community, to bring change to our community. We're gonna demand that our turn is respected. We're gonna demand that together we create a voting bloc that's gonna make a difference. Because that's what it's gonna take. We have to educate our community. Yes, we're gonna go out and educate and tell the young adults to register, but we have to educate them about the importance of voting. Because by creating a voting bloc is the only way that we truly gonna be recognized and make a change. In fact, let's look at Reading. We just heard from our state rep, Johanny Cepeda, the first Dominican woman in that area. We saw my brother, Manny Guzman. We have a commissioner, Puerto Rican commissioner, and in myself, you have the first Latino Puerto Rican mayor in a large city in Pennsylvania. As mayor of Reading, the fourth largest city in Pennsylvania, and one of nearly 70% of our population being Latino, I witnessed the contribution of our community every day. We are business owners, we are educators, we are public servants, and we are trailblazers. We celebrate our legacy while setting the road for future generations, representing the idea of true change. Our story is one of strength, growth, and coming together. As we come together, let's remember that our path forward is brighter when we work side by side. Our culture, our values, our hard work enrich not only our communities, but the entire Commonwealth. But for that, we have to create that synergy that we can all build. I often say together, we can do more. We're gonna do more to shape our future that reflects the dreams and aspirations of every Latino family in Pennsylvania, that reflects you and I. God bless you. Dios me lo bendiga.
Thank you, Mayor. Now please join me in welcoming Mayor Matt Turek of Allentown.
Muchísimas gracias. Buenas tardes. Ahora estamos en la tarde, okay? Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. It's a tremendous honor to be here with all of you today celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month in Pennsylvania. We're gathering to celebrate our rich heritage and the countless contributions of the Hispanic community to this Commonwealth. And I want to share a story with you, a personal part of my story, but also a story that reflects Allentown's journey. My name is Matt Turk. Mi nombre es Matt Turk. Y yo soy el primer alcalde latino de la ciudad de Allentown. You may not know, but Allentown is a city with a majority Latino population, which is a huge change from 50 years ago. In fact, Allentown is outside of Florida, Texas, and California. We are the third largest majority Latino city in the country, after just Elizabeth, New Jersey, and somewhere else in New Jersey. It doesn't matter. It's New Jersey, right? So, although my name is unusual for a Latino, it's German, my grandmother, Ofelia Mondejar, is Cuban. She came to Monroe County in 1946 and probably was the first Cubana in the history of Monroe County, that we just heard is the second largest Latino population in our Commonwealth. She was a pioneer, un pionero. And like many others of this era, she was exploring new opportunities for her family. And I want to take just a quick minute because she is so important to me and she brings tears to my eye every time I hear the Pledge of Allegiance said or our national anthem, because I think about my grandmother who earned her citizenship in 1974. And she was so proud of the freedoms that she earned as a citizen of this country. And one of the things that I'm so proud of her, and I'm reflecting on this today as I'm listening to so many of our speakers, was her accent, because she came here not speaking a word of English. And her accent was famous in East Stroudsburg for being impenetrable for so many people. But it was so beautiful. And whether it's Norman's accent or Olga or Eddie or so many of the other accents, that is part of the beauty of our Commonwealth, is our resilience and our desire to learn this language. So I love hearing all of our accents. Pero also quiero decir, no vamos a hacer nada de política aquí, pero ella nunca perdió la oportunidad de votar. And that is so important for all of us to recognize that as citizens, we have the right to vote and we must use that, not just in November, but every year. So please follow my grandmother's example and vote. But pioneers are also innovators, and I want to talk about pioneers in Allentown. Pioneers break the norms that restrict us. In 1993, Marty Velasquez was elected as the first city councilman of Hispanic heritage in Allentown history. In those days, Allentown's Latino population had only reached 12% of the total, but that pioneer, Martin, although he didn't speak Spanish, he opened the door for the rest of us. 8 years later, Julio Guridi, election as the first city council candidate for whom English was not his first language. He was the first Spanish-speaking member of Allentown city government. That election came at a pivotal time, shortly after our city had declared English as its official language. Julio stood up and he said, it won't be the only language spoken in Allentown. That pioneer put himself in the spotlight in a city with a growing Hispanic population, and he won. One of the marks of pioneers, one of the hallmarks, is changing culture and society. And at the end of 2011, in a city that had grown to become 42% Latino, Cynthia Mota was appointed as the first Afro-Latina city council member in our city's history. And siempre con cariño y con amor y con compasión, she serves the people and now marks more than a decade as a leader in the community, a champion for La Voz Hispana across all of Allentown. These pioneers allowed me to be the first Latino mayor in our history, and I'll follow in their footsteps, seeking new opportunities, challenging always the status quo, embracing uncertainty, and pushing for change that advances the well-being of all Allentown residents. And I'll take a second here, because a lot in our community, sometimes people don't understand why I wear this flag. And it's from my children who are both members of the LGBTQIA+ community. And that pushes our status quo in our community, being there for all of our residents. And the sneakers, that is a message to our young people, that whether it's the tattoos or the sneakers, whatever you look like, whatever language you speak, whoever you love, you have an opportunity to lead in your community. So I'm gonna do what those others did. We don't just open the door to new generations. We ask and we pray that those new generations, those young people, like our concejal that will be speaking in a second here, we pray, rogamos, that they change the world. So let's move forward together, juntos, con amor y con compasión, and build a brighter future for Allentown, for this Commonwealth, and for our entire community. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, I'd like to welcome Councilwoman Rachel Leon from Bethlehem to the podium.
Hi, I'm Rachel. It's nice to meet you all. Like everyone else, I want to take a moment to appreciate where we're at right now. A space that I alone, just Rachel, would never have seen herself. But I think that's the beauty of our culture. We are able to lean on each other until we see ourselves, to see what we see in ourselves, what our community sees in us. We are able to walk the path that people before us have painstakingly cleared the way for. Thank you, Olga. Our Latinidad is a rich history of culture, resilience, and strength, community above self. Yet we also face challenges that demand our collective action. To truly pioneer change, we must embrace the principles of equity and belonging. True collective action. With acknowledgement to the path that led us to here in the United States, there are certain things that we can still hold as truths. Equity and the pursuit of change are fundamental principles that lie at the heart of the founding of the United States. From its very inception, the idea that individuals deserve equal rights and opportunities has driven our nation's progress, reminding us that our fight for justice and belonging is a shared responsibility that we must continue to embrace. We are not perfect. We continue to fall short, but together we can make the changes we need to live up to these principles. With our hearts rooted in our cultures, we can foster an environment where everyone feels valued and included, where our diversity is seen as a strength, not a barrier. When we embrace belonging, we empower one another to dream bigger, push ahead, and uplift our communities as a whole. I hope that we remember we are the architects of a future where we, the Hispanic community, continue to thrive. One where equity and belonging are not just ideals, but realities. Together, we can inspire change, cultivate hope, and shape a brighter future por estas generaciones y por nuestros hijos. Gracias y Dios te bendiga.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome Ivelis Rodriguez back to the podium for a special solo performance, and then we will get to a tribute of 2 Latino veterans. Ivelis.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we can walk it out. Move mountains, we can walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, when the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet. Move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you. In spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, I like the waves. We'll rise up, in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. For you,
Thank you, Ivelis, for that beautiful performance. So much talent. Next up, it is truly an honor and privilege, a dear friend, a fellow Lancasterian. I invite the Commonwealth's Chief Diversity Officer, Norman Bristow Colon, to the stage. Please join me in welcoming him.
Buenas tardes. I think that we can do better. Buenas tardes. Before I provide some closing remarks, we gather here today to celebrate the amazing contributions that Latinos have made to Pennsylvania, to the nation, and to the world. As a Puerto Rican myself, I am full of pride, orgullo, because at some point in the history of our nation, there was no greater patriots than those speaking Spanish, jibaritos from Puerto Rico. And you know, every time I open my mouth, I use data. Because you know, when you're in the public eye, you can be questioned. So I say this because I follow the data. At some point in our nation's history, no land, no state produced more members of the U.S. military than the island of Puerto Rico. No place. So from the sacred lands of Gettysburg to the biggest fights that we had today, let me be reminded, Latinos have always been there to defend freedom and opportunity for all Americans since the founding of the United States of America today. So today, we honor two very special individuals. And I'm going to read. And before I do this, the Congressional Gold Medal was given to the Borincaneers. And I asked my dear friend, Senator Casey, that as a Puerto Rican myself, I wanted to be there. And the senator, because it was the highest ticket in Washington, D.C. that day, the senator gave me his seat so I could be there witnessing history when more than 400 members of Congress were in attendance honoring the contributions of the Borincaneers to the nation. And this was way long overdue. You know, the Borincaneers were the only segregated Spanish-speaking unit in the history of our nation. Yet, they were also the most decorated unit coming back from the Korean War. So, For those that come from that small island, let me tell you, we come from a small land with the biggest heart. And that heart was given by so many soldiers. So I will read. To everyone in attendance, we thank you for your presence as we gather this day in honor of U.S. Army Korean War veterans Saul Lugaro Irizarry and his younger brother Adalin Lugaro Irizarry, who will be honored posthumously. These men were part of the famous 65th Infantry Regiment, better known the Borincaneers. It is through the collaborative effort from the Borincaneer Congressional Gold Medal Ceremony National Committee, the Borincaneers PA chapter, all the Borincaneer sister chapters, and all parties involved that we pride ourselves in allegiance to paying tribute and respect whenever we come across Borincaneers who have not yet to be honored as those two brothers. We should note the story of the Borincaneers is one of many individual chapters. A story of love, service, sacrifices, and most importantly, devotion to each other as brothers in arms of the battlefield. Today, we find ourselves honoring the story of two beloved Borincaneer brothers. Both Borincaneers, Saul and Adalin, served in the same company. Saul voluntarily enlisted in the U.S. Army on June 26, 1951. He soon found himself providing mortar fire support to rifle companies in January 1951. On July 4th, 1952, as he went to replace a forward observer closer to the enemy lines, he lost his hearing from concussions impacts due to the heavy artillery from the enemy firing on his position. July 1952, his brother Adalin arrived in Korea. In order to protect his younger brother, Saul reached out to a chaplain, and soon both brothers were serving together in M Company. The family story is that Saul was able to get Adalin assigned to the mess hall and shower facility to keep him off the front lines. However, one day Adalin showed up on the front lines, and when his older brother Saul, who's here with us today, asked him what he was doing there, Adalin simply replied that he did not want to leave his brother alone anymore. The beautiful story of the Lugaro brothers is one of love and commitment to each other that pulls or the heartstring of our spirit. In staying true to the ideal symbolized by the Borincaneers' motto of honor, and fidelity, we as a community will stay dedicated to preserving and advancing the legacy of this regiment. So on behalf of the Borincaneers MCPA chapter, a replica of the Borincaneers Congressional Gold Medal and Certificate, along with a Korean War Return from Hell patch, is presented to Saul Lugaro Irizarry and posthumously presented to the family of Adalin Lugaro Irizarry. Please accept this item as a heartfelt show of admiration and respect for the services, sacrifices, and remembrance of the Lugaro brothers. May their patriotic legacy forever ring in the memory of their loved ones and the world. Honor e fidelitas. I will ask my dear friend and Executive Director of the Governor's Latino Commission, Olga Negron, to present this certificate to Mr. Saul Lugaro, 98 years old. and the son of Alalín Lugaro, who is with us today. Olga.
Borinquenier's Congressional Gold Medal Certificate of Award presented to SFC Saul Lugaro, Company M65th Infantry Regiment, in recognition for his service in defense of the United States Constitution by an Act of Congress 2014. The 65th Infantry Regiment, known as the Borinqueniers, was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. Hailed from Puerto Rico, the 65th Infantry Regiment, as a military unit, served in all global wars of the 20th century in defense of the United States, the cause of freedom, and giving testament to their motto, Honor et Fidelitas.
Thank you.
One more.
Déjame leer el otro, okay? Let me read the other one. Oh, the patch.
Receiving this from you, and I want to congratulate every of my friends that came here today. Okay, I got the whole family over here, and I got the whole family here and some friends, and, you know, and thank them for helping me on this, because they helped me organize this thing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. No se vaya todavía, not yet. We also have a patch, certificate of recognition. This certificate of recognition and appreciation is presented to Sergeant Saul Lugaro, M Company 65th Infantry Regiment, for outstanding services and dedication to the United States of America during the Korean War. The Borinqueniers Motorcycle Club present to the Flores Coriano family and say thank you for all your sacrifice and services, and all a small token of respect and appreciation presented to you with the return from the Hell patch. So I have one for each of you. All right. Borinqueniers Congressional Gold Medal Certificate of Award presented to Adalín Lugaro Irizarry, Company M65th Infantry Regiment, in recognition of his service in defense of the United States Constitution by an Act of Congress 2014. The 65th Infantry Regiment, known as the Borinquenier, was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. Hailed from Puerto Rico, the 65th Infantry Regiment, as a military unit, served in all global wars of the 20th century in defense of the United States, the cause of freedom, and giving testament to their motto, Honor y Fidelidad. And you, of course, get also the patch, certificate of recognition, return from hell patch. Both of you get. And a beautiful memorabilia also for you.
Oh, my goodness.
You got it? You got it? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for the Borinqueniers. As we close today's events, let me share a few numbers about the Latino community, because we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Today, let us embrace the values of respect, unity, and understanding. Let us honor the stories and contributions of Hispanic and Latino Americans, both past and present. And let those stories inspire us to continue building bridges and fostering communities where everyone's voice is heard and valued. There are 65 million Latinos in the United States today, the largest minority ethnic group in the nation, representing 20% of today's US population. 30% of the student population in the US by 2030 is going to be Latino. 68% of Latinos were born in the United States, very similar to other immigrant groups. Latinos represented 51% of the population growth of the United States between 2010 and 2020. 4 out of 5 are US citizens. By 2030, 1 in 3 workers is going to be Latino. Latino kids, they represented 80% increase in K through 12 population and in the college population. Between 2020 and 2040, Latinos will represent 70% of all the nation's new home owners. So those of you in real estate, if you want to make some money, you better start speaking some Spanish. Every year, 1 million Latinos turn 18 in the United States, making us today the largest minority voting bloc in the nation, with about 36 million Latinos ready to vote this November. There are almost 1.2 million Latinos in Pennsylvania today. We represented 50% of Pennsylvania's population growth. We are fueling Pennsylvania's economy, and whoever will be the occupant of any elected office in the nation will not make it there without the Latino vote. Latinos are also the youngest population in the nation and the youngest population in Pennsylvania. So let us commit ourselves that when we gather here next year again, that we improve the social, educational, political, and economic conditions of Latinos all across the state and all across the nation. History is calling upon us. So I'm asking my Latino brothers and sisters, let's respond to history's call. Let's make sure that we are the driving force, not only for Pennsylvania's economic growth, but for the nation's economic growth. Let's follow the model of Latinas. And I'm going to end with this. The largest GDP of any state in the union is California. The 4th largest, larger than the GDP of Pennsylvania, is Latinas, with a purchasing power that is more than $1.3 trillion. Compran mucho maquillaje y muchos zapatos y mucha ropa, tú sabes. So, Latinas open more businesses than anybody else as well. Yet, they are possibly the most discriminated group of individuals in the nation today. So let's follow the model of Latinas. When they are knocked down, they are showing the world the resiliency, el poder y la fuerza de nuestra comunidad. And let us also commit ourselves that in these walls, Joanny and Danilo and Manny and Ben, they are still fighting the same issues that we have been fighting for 50 years. Because there is no action that has been taken on behalf of our community for so long. Let's commit ourselves that next year when we come and we gather here, we are writing a new chapter, a better chapter for Latino education, Latino economic development, que nuestro poder se sienta no solamente en Harrisburg, sino en todo el estado de Pensilvania, porque somos una comunidad rica en valores, rica en cultura, rica en herencia cultural y somos el futuro de los Estados Unidos y el futuro de Pensilvania. Gracias.
Thank you, Norman. A heartfelt thank you to all of our honoree speakers and a shout out to all of you for attending today. Please join us. There is a lunch adjacent here, but this concludes our ceremony. Thank you all so much.